Can a Formula One car rewrite the rules of the game before the season even starts? What's behind the mysterious active partial mode that Ferrari hid until now? The FIA took note of what was happening. It wasn't just a matter of performance or passive safety. It was something deeper. The premier category of motorsport was sacrificing versatility, safety, and spectacle for a technical philosophy that too limited the team's room for maneuver and put the driver's health at risk. What started as a promising technical solution ended up being an operational nightmare. To maximize the suction of the tunnels, the cars needed to roll millimeters off the ground. This forced very hard suspensions and extreme setups that made the drivers suffer lap after lap. The famous porpoising, that violent vertical rebound that went viral on networks, was more than just a nuisance. It was a symptom of a technical solution taken to the limit of what was tolerable. Lower back pain, dizziness, loss of visibility. It was evident that something had to change. Furthermore, the fragility of the concept was evident every time a drop of rain fell. The cars were so dependent on a perfect ride height that as soon as the asphalt got wet, the entire aerodynamic balance collapsed. It didn't matter how talented the pilot was or how good the strategy was. If the bottom of the car touched the ground in an unexpected pothole or lost suction due to water, the car simply stopped working. The FIA acted. For the 2026 season, he dictated a silent but relentless regulatory revolution. No more Venturi tunnels. Instead, all teams were required to use a simplified flat bottom, with no external aids to the natural flow of air. This forced engineers to rethink from the ground up how to generate load without compromising efficiency or stability. And this is where Ferrari comes in. This approach allowed the SF26 to not only conform to the new standards, but use them as a platform for innovation rather than a barrier. Instead of lamenting the loss of load, Ferrari designed a car that maximizes aerodynamic efficiency, understood as the relationship between load generated and resistance offered. The consequence is a car that does not seek to be the one that generates the most grip in fast corners, but rather the one that does so in the most intelligent, most adaptable, and most sustainable way throughout an entire Grand Prix. It's no longer just about dominating a lap in qualifying. Now the challenge is to have a car that behaves equally well in turn 3, lap 3, and lap 33. Ferrari is betting on a new philosophy. They no longer want to be the fastest for 3 races and disappear in the second half of the championship. They want to have a technical concept that allows them to evolve, adjust, and stay competitive throughout the season. And if the SF26 works as planned, this rule change that so many feared could become Ferrari's biggest opportunity in more than 15 years. Active aerodynamics was always a latent promise in Formula One. For more than a decade, DRS was the only vestige of a dynamic system on the track. A limited, conservative mechanism, designed more to increase spectacle than to revolutionize engineering. But in 2026, everything changed. And Ferrari has been the first to demonstrate how it should be done. The SF26 marks a before and after in the way in which Formula One cars interact with the air. It is no longer simply about cutting the wind on straight lines and loading the car in curves. Now, it is about having 3 operating modes that completely transform the behavior of the car depending on the environment, track, and weather conditions. The first is full active mode, designed for straights. This mode simultaneously flattens the moving elements of the front wing and the upper flap of the rear wing. In that configuration, the car can reduce its air resistance by up to 55%. That doesn't just mean more speed. It means the car's hybrid system, which powers multiple electrical components, needs less energy to maintain cruising speed. It is a strategic saving that can make the difference in key laps. But the real art is in the transition. As the pilot approaches a corner, the system automatically returns to Z mode, or maximum downforce mode. Here, all moving surfaces return to their original position, generating the maximum grip available. This allows the car to brake later, faster through corners, and exit with greater stability. There is no latency. There are no delays. Everything happens in real time at breakneck speeds, with millimeter coordination between the pilot's action and the response of the actuators. The third way is the most intriguing. It is the partial active mode, designed specifically for low grip conditions, such as rain or humidity on the track. And it was this mode that Ferrari secretly tested during the Barcelona tests with Charles Leclerc at the wheel. In this mode, only the front elements of the spoiler are flattened, while the rear one remains closed, generating its maximum load. This seemingly asymmetrical setup has brilliant logic behind it. In low traction conditions, the last thing you want is to lose rear stability. By keeping the rear wing closed, the SF26 ensures that the rear axle is firmly anchored to the asphalt, avoiding loss of control. But at the same time, by reducing the load on the front axle, the car cuts through the water better in a straight line, reduces drag and can reach a decent speed without punishing its electrical system. This mode is not only useful for rainy days, it is also a strategic resource. It can be activated in qualifying sessions where the track is drying, or even on pit exit laps where the tires have not yet reached temperature. It allows the car to adapt not only to the track, but to the actual state of the surface lap after lap. On a technical level, the development of this system has been a work of art. Unlike previous generations that hid their complexity behind rigid solutions, Ferrari has created an integrated assembly where ailerons, sensors and actuators work like a living organism. The front wing, for example, now has 3 elements instead of 4, but the upper 2 are completely movable. This simplification is not a regression, it is an optimization. With fewer moving parts, there is less weight, less chance of failure and more control over airflow. From the first glance, the SF26 conveys a clean feeling. There are no excess volumes nor unnecessary shapes. The rear packaging has been completely redesigned. Ferrari has compressed the dimensions of the powertrain and its cooling system to achieve a more stylish rear than that of any recent Ferrari. This is not just an aesthetic change, it is a change in philosophy. Reducing the rear section has huge implications. It frees up space so that the airflow passes with greater speed and less turbulence towards the diffuser. And since as much downforce can no longer be generated from the ground thanks to the elimination of the Venturi tunnels, all that clean air is now a golden coin that Ferrari is making the most of. The more air flows in an orderly manner to the diffuser, the more effective that diffuser becomes, even under new regulatory restrictions. Another detail that stands out is the engine air intake. Ferrari has opted for an almost triangular cross-section with rounded edges, noticeably more compact than its rivals. This geometry is not a simple design whim. It is a direct response to an internal strategy, reducing the need for large volumes for cooling, which requires optimizing the internal airflow of the entire car. This means less space for radiators and heat exchangers, which requires aggressive and extremely precise thermal management. This minimalist approach is also seen in the hybrid system integration. Electronic components have been repositioned to reduce thermal impact on the batteries, while cooling ducts have been aligned with the natural paths of external airflow. It is a work of engineering where each channel, each curve, each cutout has a defined purpose. Even the suspensions have benefited from this redesign. Ferrari has followed the path of other leading teams, moving the suspension arms towards a configuration that favors both mechanical stability and aerodynamic efficiency. Less interference with the airflow, better direction of the air towards the sides of the car, and greater freedom to manipulate the wake that enters the diffuser. In the front axle, the logic is repeated. Although Ferrari has reduced the number of spoiler elements from 4 to 3, the top 2 are mobile. This is not a rollback but an optimized simplification. Fewer pieces but more effective. The pillars that support the spoiler are placed at the limit of the regulations, almost at the ends to maximize air intake under the chassis. Again, every detail is at the service of the flow. The actuator that moves these elements is mounted right in the center of the nose. A solution chosen by only some teams, as the alternative twin engines at each end of the wing offers more independence but also more weight and complexity. Ferrari has preferred to maintain symmetry, thus reducing unsprung mass and improving the dynamic response of the front axle. January 27, 2026. Second day of official tests at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. The weather, unpredictable as always in winter, decides to be the protagonist. Rain comes intermittently, creating one of the most valuable scenarios for any Formula One team. Wet track, low temperature, reduced visibility, and a unique opportunity to test not only the reliability of the car, but the true sophistication of the aerodynamic package. For Ferrari, this day was not just another test. It was the ideal occasion to show something that they had been secretly preparing since Maranello: the partial active mode, an aerodynamic configuration designed specifically for low grip conditions, never before seen on the track. Charles Leclerc is in charge of pushing the SF26 to the limit. From the first laps, the most attentive observers notice something unusual. On the main straight, while other cars struggle to generate stability and control, the Ferrari seems to float with confidence, cutting through the water without vibrations, without corrections, without loss of traction. Leave it in the comments what you think about all this.